Good afternoon. I'm Warren Boykin, and I am the Program and Outreach Coordinator for NAMI Northern Illinois. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to another Leading the Conversation. That's our periodic podcast regarding issues of concern to mental health community um, in the Rockford, Illinois area and beyond. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Eden Brown, who's representing the Liam Foundation, to discuss issues about mental health in the LGBTQIA plus community. And without further ado, let's turn it over to Eden.
All right, thank you so much for having me. We're gonna talk about uh, and some barriers that LGBTQ plus people face, as well as how we can try to combat those things. Um, so I just kind of wanted to start with a little bit about our organization, the Liam Foundation. We're a very small organization with a lot of volunteers. Um, Again, my name is Eden Brown. I'm the program support coordinator for the Liam Foundation. I use any pronouns. And there's also our executive director, Phyllis Gallisath. Um, just kind of talking about where we came from. Again, we're very new. We were started in March of 2020, directly before the COVID shutdowns. And a lot of this was sparked after Phyllis's son Liam had passed away by suicide in 2018. It originally started as a name change fund, and then we became a nonprofit and have been kind of just slowly growing through that. Um, our entire mission is to help encourage and heal the LGBT community in the Winnebago and Boone County. Um, Mental health is extremely important to us, not only because of Liam, the namesake of our organization, but also just because we really believe that meeting people's basic needs is suicide prevention. Um, so I just wanted to include that we have a lot of programs and support groups. We at our core are a community center, so a lot of people come to us with ideas for things that they want to see, and we open our space to them. And you can see on our website for an entire calendar of events throughout the year. And then some of our services, because again, we really believe that meeting people's needs helps with mental health and just quality of living. We have the Liam's Fund, which helps with micro grants. Um, and we have our gender expression. We have a free closet, which also includes a free store for people. And we give them help with accessing gender expression items like clothing or prosthetics or anything like that. We also have our access program, which is kind of our huge thing of different things that people might need, which goes into education or, if somebody just needs a person to talk to. And we also have name change clinics, which currently are about 2 per month, where we help people uh, navigate how to change their name in Illinois. Um, so one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about regarding LGBTQ people and mental health is that there are a lot of barriers. And so, why do LGBTQ people either not have access, or when they do have access to mental health care, they might not get it when it's really needed? Um, so, many people cannot afford health care. But we also have a lot of things that are specific to LGBT people where they feel like they might not be understood or taken very seriously. You can see this where a lot of people might think that, LGBT people are too sensitive, or, like they don't really go through as bad of a thing as they think. Um, and they're scared that people will not understand their identity. They don't understand, how being LGBT might affect mental health or affect the things that they go through every day. And with all of this, it really just comes down to not really being sure of which providers are allies, and which providers are going to take them seriously and go through the process of learning about LGBT people and their mental health. Um, so our big thing is what we can do is learn and be loud about it. Um, right now, going through this uh, webinar is a huge first step in learning and about a lot of the things that LGBT people face in mental health. Um, so one thing that I had on that previous slide was saying a lot of LGBT people, especially the clients that we interact with, they say that mental health care just has never worked for them, whether it be that type of therapy or things like that. And I think that a really big portion of that is due to minority stress and making yourself aware of this can really help in the way that you practice with getting access to mental health care. So minority stress comes from minority groups having specific stress from the experiences of the world around them. So this can be intersectional. This is not just for LGBT people. It can be due to different socioeconomic statuses, races, ethnicities, immigration status, and things like that. Um, and so when you understand minority stress, it really helps with um, understanding that the people that you're helping might not have the absolute basics uh, that they need to actually get mental health help. It's really hard to treat mental health issues when, we'll go into the ways that LGBT people are discriminated against, the lack of familial support, the harder to access housing, and things like that. Because when you aren't able to fix the root cause, it makes it a lot harder to actually get better. Um, and I wanted to go over some statistics. Uh, all of these are from the Trevor Project, their 2023 mental health survey, and this is geared more towards youth, but this was some of the most up to date things that I found. Um, and so with suicide statistics, 41% of LGBTQ people have considered attempting suicide, and 1 in 5 transgender young people have actually attempted in the past year. Um, this is obviously really scary, and shows that there's definitely a need for good access to mental health care for LGBT people. Um, Going back to that minority stress, 1 in 3 LGBTQ young people said their mental health was poor most of the time or always due to anti-LGBTQ policies and legislation. We see this affecting younger people a lot more because a lot of the uh, anti-LGBT lawmaking is geared towards children, whether that be um, not letting children have access to hormone replacement therapy or not being able to talk about LGBTQ topics in schools or things like anti-trans bathroom bills and stuff like that. Uh, and 56% of LGBTQ young people who wanted mental health care in the past year were not able to get it. Looking further into that survey, a lot of it was talking about either not being able to afford mental health care or, again, not knowing if the people that they were going to for therapy and other things would be helpful or if they would discriminate against them. Um, 67% of LGBTQ young people reported symptoms of anxiety, and 54% reported experiencing symptoms of depression, which both of those are over half, which is showing again um, how much LGBTQ people are in need of good health care. So, one of the things that's really important for kind of eliminating these barriers is creating space for LGBT people. We tell a lot of people who come to us who want to make their either clinics or jobs more affirming is to just have small things where it's kind of like if you know sort of stuff. Um, on any intake paperwork, having a section for pronouns and preferred name, it really gives people a like sense of just whew, like having that uh, those tight shoulders like relax because they realize that these people are caring about that, and now I'm not going to have to go through the awkward situation of being like, oh well actually I use this name and hopefully you still use it towards me and stuff like that. um, Again, having things that are like small things around the office. um, PFLAG and we have like little safe space and ally stickers. They're usually seen a lot in schools where they'll have them in like the windows and stuff. And that's just something that an LGBT person can see and be able to know that, all right, this is somewhere that, says that they're a safe space. And I know that they're going to be an ally, and I don't have to be scared that I'm going to be discriminated against here. Um, Also, of course, like informational brochures. If you have brochures for the Liam Foundation, or if you have brochures for um, anything like infographics on LGBT mental health in clinics and stuff like that, that can be really helpful for people to know that, like, oh, yeah, you've done your homework and you've learned a lot more from this stuff. Um, and with learning, you know, uh, continuing learning is extremely important. Um, I am LGBT. I have been since I was a very small child, and I work at a LGBT resource center. I still don't know even half of the stuff about LGBT people. It is a huge group of people. It is very diverse. There are so many different ways to experience being LGBT that things are constantly changing, and it's definitely a continual learning experience. Um, and something that I think is really important is to learn from other educators or online. There's a lot of stuff online for resources, and try not to learn from your clients. This is something that we've seen a lot where in mental health spaces, a lot of LGBT people have talked about, being asked really invasive questions that have nothing to do with your care, whether that be in mental health or physical health. And so it's really important to kind of keep that um, professional environment and try to learn from other resources. Um, and it's really important too with that to talk about that. Again, it's okay to be like, you know what, I don't know anything about that, and I'm going to look more into it. Um, It's also good to know the resources in the area that are LGBTQ friendly. Um, in mental health help, a lot of things are, you have a lot of referrals to give, and being prepared really helps with that because, nobody wants to send a client to somewhere where they're going to be mistreated or not understood, because that can really hurt our um, relationship with those people, and continue that cycle of um, having those barriers to healthcare and things like that. Um, Again, not to keep talking about the Liam Foundation, but we obviously know a lot of places to refer people. We have an entire resource guide on our website, and we're working on fleshing that out a lot more. So, um, yeah, we can definitely help with like continuing education and knowing where to refer people out to. Um, the problem was that with this webinar style thing, I have a whole section on questions, but I don't know if people are able to ask questions. Um, it looks like you can put them into the chat. So I,
I actually wanted to send you a chat message about that. I forgot to mention that people may not be able to access the chat, but they can put questions into the Q&A box. So
oh, okay.
uh, right now there are no questions in the box, but I do want to apologize for not mentioning that at the beginning. So
Okay.
any questions, feel free to type into the Q&A.
Thank you so much. Yeah. But yeah, I really encourage asking questions because again, there's no such thing as a dumb question, and just to put yourself in different shoes. Something that I always bring up is that with talking to people from NAMI, I'm assuming that most, if not all of you, are in mental health uh, advocacy or care. Um, so when you think about that, think about when you didn't know anything about mental health or anything like that. It's really hard. So I don't know what you don't know, and I really want to help out with that.
There is a question that just arrived. If you can, I don't know if you can see that question, uh,
Yeah.
but if
Um,
the question is, can you show the very first slide?
yeah, hopefully. If you could put in this, I'm not sure which
Which
slide.
first slide they're referring to,
Yeah.
right?
Um, so if you can let me know, I can definitely. Okay, cool.
Okay, good.
Um, yeah, so this slide is just going over our history and our mission. Um, so yeah,
It's interesting if I may ask a question, or that you mentioned that it was a name change fund. Can you talk about what that entails?
yeah. So originally, the name change fund was not like a nonprofit or anything. It was Phyllis opened a PayPal account and posted on Facebook that she was taking donations to it, and with those donations, started covering the court fees to change people's names. Um, and the name change process is quite expensive. It's around $392, I think, for adults. About $50 less for children, which is still pretty expensive. Um, so yeah, it was completely a mutual aid, donation based name change fund. And now we grew into our nonprofit now, which has a lot of different things offered than just name changes.
And another important thing is about the importance of people's names and preferred pronouns. I know there's been some discussion of that. Um, but you had on the slide that it is important that we acknowledge that people do have preferences, and it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important because that's your identity at its very core. When people the most common thing that I can relate it to is, the cringe that you have when people might call you like mispronounce your name or something like that, or maybe like a parent calls you a uh nickname that you haven't heard since you were like 6 or something in front of your friends. Um, it is an identifier, and when you feel many trans people feel like they've had those identities kind of ripped from them, and so that's why I think it's extremely important, especially in mental health care, um, to know that you're being treated with respect and your identity is being respected as well.
Thank you.
I see that someone else added.
Do you want me to read that for you?
Yeah.
Okay. It
Um,
says, greetings. I'm a proud ally of the LGBTQ plus community and also an HR supervisor who's so glad and proud of my organization that is really getting in tune and advocating for our LGBT plus employees.
yeah, that is awesome. Um, it's super important. Again, that's advocating is all that we do for LGBT people, and it's constantly been a struggle, but I'm really glad that that's been your experience. That's super cool. Um, Someone else said it can be very scary and intimidating to have the right language or current way to relate when you're outside the LGBTQ community. Yeah, that is, again, when I was talking about how things are constantly changing, language is constantly evolving, and there are so many different ways to experience being LGBT. Uh, it can be super scary, and especially because nobody wants to make anybody uncomfortable. Um, but there's definitely a lot of people out there who are wanting to educate, um, and our organization definitely does that. Um, and especially, I think that it's a little bit less scary once you realize that, those relationships that you're building with the people who you're talking to, they're definitely not going to fall apart after one mess up if you've shown that you are a safe person to talk to. Um, if you get something wrong and that's the first wrong that you've ever done and you're genuinely learning, many people can understand that. And um, I like that you added that you run everything by your daughter. Uh, that's really awesome. Um, Someone else asked, as an ally, how can I best support members of the community? Uh, Again, education um, is really, really important. I'll go back actually to my slide talking about the different things to do. Um, but I think that, yeah, making sure that, you're trying your best to stay up to date with stuff, um, whether that just be kind of like checking up on terminology or um, things like that is really good. Uh, it's a little bit hard to know how to best support members of the community just because it really is there are so many people and it's so diverse and intersectional that it's hard to know how to support everybody. But I think that being an open person, being a kind person, and being willing to learn is one of, or they're the biggest like things to do for LGBT people. Um, so yeah. Um, Someone else said, is there a website that consolidates the resources from the LGBTQIA plus communities and allies in the north/northwest suburbs? Um, So that is actually something that the Liam Foundation is hoping to get together. We do have a resource list that is for the Rockford area and some of Chicago, but we are working on getting volunteers together to join a committee on um, creating something we're calling the Rainbow Book, which would be exactly that. Getting resources together, vetting resources, um, making sure that they're genuinely safe, because that's something that we've had a bit of problems with, is that, anybody can say that they're like, yeah, we affirm LGBT people, but you don't know if that's completely for certain. So it's kind of hard to keep a nice consolidated thing full of resources. Um, but it's definitely stuff that we're working on, and we do have a resource list on our website. Another thing that's actually quite hard with that is um, there are definitely a lot more resources. It's just a matter of uh, getting in contact with them. And I'm sure that there are definitely more resource pages than just ours, but uh, so many different people put together resources that it's hard to keep track of every single one of them.
Eden, you mentioned that you have resources on your website. What is your website again?
Yeah, so our website is theliamfoundation.org. I'm sorry, I totally should have put that in this. Um, so yeah, on that website, oops, on that website, we have our resources, we have more information on our groups and on our events. And we have um, that's where you can also find any of our forms to fill out for any of our uh, access coordination, or if you need access to the Liam Fund or things like that. So yeah, well, actually, I'm going to put it into the chat if people are able to see it. Um, Someone else said that they called our number and it did not go through. So that has been, we have been having some current issues with Comcast, who goes through with our numbers. Um, so currently, Phyllis and I are using not our personal numbers, but numbers that get redirected to our phone. So um, you can totally save this number. This is my number, and it should be on the website as well. And Phyllis's number should be there too. I believe it would be under our About Us section. And I don't know if this is the same person, but they said they're trying to reach to see if we would attend their Pride Alliance cookout. We would definitely love to. We love tabling events and we love getting involved in the community. So, yeah, if you want to reach out to either that number or my email, um, that would be perfect.
Well, I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, of
As
course.
program and outreach coordinator for NAMI Northern Illinois, uh, I oversee a lot of support groups that we have for adults with mental illness, family members. Um, I think you mentioned that you have support groups as well. Do you have any information or a slide on the support groups, or can you tell us more about what support groups you offer?
Yeah. So I will pull that slide up. Our support groups, we have a lot of different support groups, but also events. Um, all of our support groups are peer support groups. So we do have facilitators, but they're mostly in the sense of making sure that everyone is staying respectful and safe. Uh, so at these support groups, they are peer led. So all of our support groups will have the conversations kind of going where people need them. Sometimes they can be more serious, like our in transition adult groups can sometimes be talking about, I think that I might be trans and I'm not really sure what to do, or I haven't been having, my family has been having trouble like understanding my pronouns or hasn't been supporting me. And other times, it's a little bit more chill and people will hang out, make friends. We order pizza to help make sure everybody has their tummies full. Um, and yeah, so we have groups that are specific to adults, and we also have groups that are specific to teenagers, 13 to 19. Um, and the teen groups do have a little bit more structure, but again, they're still peer led. They're not led by a therapist or anything like that. Uh, or yeah.
Great. So I see the group for teens, 13 to
Mhm.
19. Um, LGBTQ adult group is
That would be our open house. So that open house is open to all LGBT people who are 18 and over. Um, our in transition trans and not is for trans and non-binary adults. And then we also have our group that is specific to LGBTQ people over 45. Um, And then our other groups are the P Flag Rockford groups and the Queer Family Community Connection. Those are for all ages and they're more geared towards families coming together for either education purposes or just getting to know each other. Um, since we saw that was like a really big need for a lot of people in the community to help have their families or their parents learn about how to support their children best.
great. Thank you for that answer, Eden.
Yeah, of course. Um, I would
Are
love
there
to
any
answer.
other questions?
Yeah, that's what I was right about to say.
Sorry.
It's all good. Um, yeah, and I'm really
Okay.
sorry for going through all of that so fast. I didn't realize how exactly this would be set up, so that's my apologies for that.
No, that was perfect. Um, I think I made a quick copy of the programs that you have there, and NAMI is putting together a community calendar so that we can have our community partners events on there. So I'm glad to have
That's
listed.
awesome. That's super cool.
And,
Yeah,
and I see your address is on Fifth Avenue.
yeah. It's actually right about a year ago now. We moved into our new office on Fifth Avenue in Midtown. Um, is much bigger than our previous office. If anybody in here has seen our previous office, which was just a tiny little office. So yeah, now we have a lot more room for our events. We have like private meeting spaces, and we also have room downstairs for our like free store, which includes a free closet for people who need uh, clothing. Um, we have some like home items and hygiene items like soap, shampoo, conditioner. Um, and then we also have, uh, thanks to some other groups in the area who donated them to us. We have a lot of sexual wellness items and also harm reduction items. So we're really grateful to offer all of that.
I imagine that you partner with a lot of other community organizations as well as NAMI.
Yeah, we definitely do. Especially since we're such a small, small group of staff. We can't offer everything. So we definitely keep up to date with any of the places around here or in the suburbs that can offer help.
Wonderful. And there was a pride parade, I believe, last weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. The Pride Parade was not from the Liam Foundation. It was from the Rockford Area Pride Committee, but both me and Phyllis worked uh, really closely with that. Um, and it went wonderfully. Of course, there were a few hiccups for it being the first parade that anybody on that board has put together. But yeah, it was a huge turnout, and I was really happy, especially with the weather. There were still a lot of people. So we're really grateful for that.
I'm glad it went well.
Mm. Uh, I saw someone is asking if we will be at the Woodstock Pride Fest this weekend. I don't believe that we will. I'm not sure if someone has reached out to Phyllis though. But we should have a table at the Freeport Pride, uh, which will be on the 15th.
Great. And I do want to mention that uh, NAMI's general education meeting is coming up this soon on June the 11th, and it's actually going to be at RAMP. You can see our calendar for more information about that on NAMI's website, naminorthernillinois.org. Um, and as your slide says, check our website for our calendar of events. So, Eden, I really want to thank you for a wonderful presentation. If you would be so kind as to put your contact slide one more time on the screen.
Sure can.
All right, I didn't get that phone number, but I will.
Yeah. And I
Thank
can
you very
also,
much.
yeah, and I can also send this entire presentation your way too if you'd like. Um,
Right, and we can make that available to people who inquire. To ask general questions of NAMI, you can send your requests to info@naminorthernillinois.org and check out our website, as I mentioned before, naminorthernillinois.org. See if we have any other questions. I think that's it. And so let me please uh, express my gratitude to you, Eden, one more time for an excellent presentation, very informative. Taught me some things that I need to make some changes uh, in our way of supporting your community. So thank you so much. Um, and people can check back. We'll have this presentation and its slides available from our YouTube page. So stay tuned. All right. Thanks, everyone. Um, please check back to naminorthernillinois.org for future Leading the Conversation podcasts. And I really enjoyed this one. Thank you again, Eden Brown
yeah, thank
and the
you
Lead
so much.
Foundation. All right. All right. With that, I think we'll close it out. Great job.